Hello and welcome to the Big Head on Goswick Lane. We've learned that we can't say a few things behind that big head recently. We cannot say the big head, and we can't say it, right?
You can't say the big head realtor.
We can't say the big
real
head
estate agent.
The big head real estate agent.
That's right.
All right.
It's me.
Do you have a little TM beside that or a little R?
Well, you can use realtor with the logo or whatever, their logo, trademark logo. But it's the significance of how you use it. So
yeah. Okay.
I'll be changing that stuff.
Part of marketing.
That's right.
Right. I have a story about that. It's actually really funny, and it ties in with our guest today. Our guest today, Brandon Nix of Integrity Landscapes and Precision Turf. Brandon is a master genius at landscaping design, taking care of yards, all the above.
He knows it all.
He knows it all.
Man, you're building me up here.
Brandon, welcome to the show, man.
I'm glad to be here. You're really building me up. So
the question is, why do we, as a fellow landscaper, why the heck do we have a landscaper on the show today, Genty?
Well, that's because whenever you pull up, or I pull up to a listing agreement or listing appointment, and it doesn't have any curb appeal, that's the first thing that any client or prospective buyer is going to look at. They're going to look at what catches their eye. I always tell people, if you can catch their eye from the front, then you can get them on the inside. It helps. If they show up and you got dead plants, no mulch, we're not helping.
Brandon, give us a rundown
absolutely
of who you are and what all you do, man. What gets you excited? What wakes you up in the morning?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much it. You did it. Brandon Nix with Integrity Landscapes and now Precision Turf. Very excited about that opportunity there. And, man, I just absolutely love landscaping. Kind of fell into it and started rolling with it. And, man, I haven't looked back. I just enjoy the beautification process of properties, looking at something and seeing what the potential can be and getting my hands in the dirt and making it happen. But Genty's exactly right there. I mean, easiest way to get someone in a front door is to want them to go in the front door. Let's face it, it's awful hard to sell the Addams family house when there's just nothing there. There's no bright colors or inviting vibe or feeling there. So I think it's very important. And unfortunately, sometimes landscaping is overlooked because it can be considered a luxury item. But, I mean, it's like the makeup of your house. It's cosmetics. It's what makes you beautiful. So.
Well, and always one of my phrases with landscaping, because Brandon did my landscaping on my new construction this past year, and, I spent probably more than the average person, and Brandon knows that because my dad also owned Patel's Landscaping. And would you put on a suit and then wear, $1 shoes, or are you going to lace that suit with, a nice pair of shoes? That's the analogy that I use. You can't build $1 million home or a $500,000 home or even a $250,000 home and then put no landscaping in, or minimal, because that just, that's not going to appreciate.
No, that's right. I agree. And one thing real quick to add, you don't always have to use a professional landscaper. I understand it's not always in everyone's budget. And there are so many different things you can do DIY. So many different options, I mean, that are very budget friendly. So there's a lot of it's a great way as well to get involved with your family, with your spouse, with your kids, whoever it may be, and get involved in bringing that beauty back to your own property.
Yeah.
I'll say, you said you don't have to hire a professional landscaper. You can't just throw some plants in the ground, though, right?
That's correct. We see that all the time.
How many zones are across the United States?
Well, there's 11.
And break down what a zone is and how that matters.
So a zone is basically the region of the United States that we live in, okay? And that's going to pertain to the temperatures throughout the year, basically what's going to freeze, what's going to not. And, there are a lot of tender evergreens. We have evergreens. There's tender evergreens, believe it or not. There's also tender perennials. There's hardy perennials. Annuals that don't last, you're replacing those throughout the year. But we're in Zone 8, so we need to look at what we use for Zone 8 in here.
There's tender genties and sometimes evergreen and hardy genties as well. So it depends on what day it is.
Depends on the day. Brandon, don't y'all do kind of like a real estate fix up or improvement, don't y'all have some type of model that you can come in and turn the mulch, add mulch? What do y'all do whenever you come out to a listing and let's say it's not me, say it's another real estate agent, and they're like, hey, we're about to list this house. We need minimal, but make it pop.
So in that, what I'm going to do is obviously we're going to refresh the mulch if it needs there, okay? Trim whatever shrubs there. We're going to use as much of the existing landscape as possible because I get it. You're moving out of that house. You're not trying to invest anything else into it. You're trying to get out of it. However, it's going to take a little money to make some money.
Right.
That's just the truth. Now, fresh mulch, bright colors, fill in some gaps. You can fill in gaps with cheap ground cover. I mean, cheap annuals are going to add bright color that are, like, again, I'm going to say it, inviting you into the home.
Right.
The fresh mulch is another thing. I mean, it just makes a heck of a difference. It makes everything pop and come together.
It's very similar to the inside of, when you've lived in a house for 10 or 15 years and you're trying to sell it, you need to do some touch-up paint work. There may be a little flooring work that needs to be done. There's 3 door handles that are jiggly and hadn't worked right for the entire time that you've lived in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's things that need to be done to upgrade it so that when somebody walks in, they're going to say, okay, this is nice. Same thing on the outside, right? Before you walk in, like you just said, you see something that makes you want to walk in. The landscaping's taken care of. I'll give you an example. When you pull up to a restaurant and they hadn't had their yard mowed in 5 weeks, do you really want to eat there?
I feel like they're going to spit my food.
No.
I feel like they just picked my food up off the floor,
Right.
And so it's very important to present that, hey, this place has been taken care of, even if it's a work right before that potential customer comes in.
Yeah.
I want to throw something out. I know one of your passions is design, correct?
It is landscape design. Yep.
So tell me about design. How when a customer comes to you and says, let's say it's a new build, customer comes to you, what's the process? How are you going to show them what you're doing?
Okay, so that's going to involve understanding the architecture of the home, what style home it is, what style the homeowner is going to prefer. Not everyone likes real green, lush, tropical plants. Some people like xeriscaping. Basically lives off of the natural habitat that we live in. The natural water doesn't require excess amount of water. They like minimal. I mean, the sky is the limit for landscaping. It really is, just depending upon what your personal preference is. But however, what we do on a new construction, like for instance, we did Genty's house, came in, we saw the preliminary design of the house, what it was going to look like. At that time, able to kind of map out the beds, what area we had to work with, understood what color scheme he was going with, and you start filling in from there. I mean, you're going to choose things that the customer is going to like, and my philosophy is simple is neat, and neat is what you want. You want something nice and neat. Example, like you said, going to a restaurant and it being all out of sorts. I don't want to go in there. I don't want a house that has a bunch of stuff jumbled up in it and just looks like it's thrown together. Me personally, I love using geometric designs and shapes in landscapes. I think it really does catch the eye when you see straight lines and different shapes such as triangles, diamonds, even squares, circles. You can do so much. But we take the design, we take measurements of what we're going to do, and then I take it to the computer and have a really great design program. And from there, if it's an existing home, you're going to see what your actual house looks like with the plants. So you can make a decision and feel very confident on what you're getting. The older way of doing landscape design is the two-dimensional designs where I know you may have seen them, Shane. You've used them in the past, I'm sure, where it's a flat piece of paper and they're drawing, oh, well, we're going to put a tree here. We're going to put some little plants right here. And it's hard to understand exactly what you're getting. You can list it out, and if the customer has an imaginative mind, they can understand it. But
it's just an overhead view with like squares and circles and triangles.
Absolutely.
No,
it's hard to understand.
98% of the world does not understand that.
No,
Landscapers do.
Yeah.
Most of them. Some of them don't even understand
I
it.
think I still have some of those in my dad's briefcase from when he used to do it.
And that may have been
Sure.
the only way to do it back then, because now you can take a picture and add it in
Yep.
there, or design from the ground up, 3D models and all those things, and it really gives you an idea of what this is going to look like. not only on new jobs, but existing jobs. Most of the time on a new build, what happens at the end of the project, Genty? Is there any money left for landscaping?
There's about, let's say we're building $1 million home. There's about 5,000 left for landscape.
You're exactly right, and that's what I get left.
You need to do
with.
it cheap. They want if you have to checkerboard that Bermuda, go ahead for it.
No.
No. I mean everybody knows that's the last on the budget list as far as a new build comes. It was on mine too, but I tried not to cut corners. I told Brandon, I gave a little bit of input, but I said, hey, I sell real estate. You do landscaping. You do you.
Yeah. It helps if you have, as a landscaper, it helps if you have a budget. Now, if somebody comes to you and says, I have a budget, maybe I think the misconception is a lot of times if you don't trust your landscaper, you do not want to give them that number. Would you guys agree?
I think more so here in the current climate we're in, people are a little more hesitant to give you a budget because they feel like, like you're selling them a car. You're going to show them the most expensive one, and then it's going to be hard to turn around. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to go exactly to the tip top of that budget, and that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's needed so we know exactly what you're looking for, what we can actually do. I'm not going to sell you a $20,000 landscape job if your budget's 10.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to sit there and waste your time putting together a $20,000 budget if they only have 5 or 10.
No, because it does take time on those designs, and I mean, there's hours involved in that, and a lot of plug and play, if you will, putting it in, pulling it out, making sure it looks right, getting opinions, and seeing what flows and what fits. So it's more than just picking out plants at the your local garden center.
Let's say you're a customer comes to you, Brandon, and they're an absolute DIYer, not afraid to get their hands dirty. They'll work and they'll get the job done. Could you provide them with a design for them to put in themselves with all the things that you know about plants and what needs to go where and the design and the geometry and all those things?
Absolutely, and that's something that here recently I've gotten into is offering DIY packages. I'm working on one right now. And, those packages are going to start at different price ranges depending upon the size of the project and how many drawings you may want, how many different ideas you may want. So with that, you're going to get a design. You're going to get the plant list, materials list for whatever we're using, mulch, rock, or both. You're going to understand the plant installation. I'm going to tell you what to do, how to plant it. Make sure there's no clay in the ground. We're in East Texas, so we have a lot of red clay, and red clay holds water, has a high PSI, doesn't drain, so that a lot of time kills the plants.
Let's get in the dirt for a second.
Yeah.
Literally. If we do have red clay, and we all do around here, how are you supposed to plant that?
Okay, so you need to be digging it out and removing it as much as possible. I'm not telling you to dig a big crater in your yard,
mm-hmm.
right? So the standard, what you hear about planting a shrub, let's just use a boxwood, one of the most common plants there is. You're going to plant a boxwood, so you're going to dig the hole, twice the width, if you will, twice the size of the pot that it's in. And you're going to dig down. You're going to dig down probably, me personally, we dig down about an extra 12 inches, and then we backfill with organic soil or a planting mix or sand or even rock, depending upon what we're doing. Here's a little trick. If you do have a lot of clay, you can add gravel at the base, at the bottom of your hole, okay? That's going to allow drainage.
Mm.
And it's just a little landscaper trick that I learned from another guy that really helped me out along the way.
Why do you need drainage on a plant? Why wouldn't you just want that water falling in that hole and sitting there on that root ball?
It's a good question. So water will kill a plant. You can overwater. It gets what's called wet feet. And not all plants love water. That is very, very true. And you see it more so with, colorful plants. A lot of people think that, I've got to
azaleas.
Azaleas. You can overwater azaleas.
Hydrangeas,
yeah.
You can easily overwater those, right?
Yes, you can. Roses. Roses they do not like a lot of water. And that's you see it's a common misconception. I think people believe that, well, if I'm watering my yard, I need to water my landscape. It's not always true. If the top 1.5 inches is dry, depending upon the plant, you're okay, because down in the ground where the root system is actually where you're worried about. Also, you don't water plants from the top. And I know we're all guilty of that, and,
mm-hmm.
and you see it a lot. And, you don't just go out in the bed and start spraying around. You actually water at the base.
So a drip.
A drip system is great at the base.
Okay.
You can control the drip system. People are on the fence about it. I personally love drip systems because you can control how much water your plants are getting, and you know it's going exactly right there in the root zone. But water is hard because every plant requires a different water. Now, if you do your landscaping properly, you can plan ahead and use the same type plants that require the same moderate amount of water or minimal amount of water, things of that nature.
Yeah. If that all sounds really complicated, it's because it is. And if I'm telling you, if you're out there and you think I can do my landscaping myself, at least let Brandon design it for you so that you know that what's going in there needs to be there. Just because a plant is at a nursery doesn't mean it can go in your landscaping. There's a lot of factors that go into play there. So at least let them design it and tell you what needs to go there. There is so much to learn about landscaping.
There's so much you can do soil amendment, and I'm glad you said that. Actually, I became Texas Certified Professional Landscaper through the Texas Nursery Landscape Association, and I'll be honest, I've taken a lot of tests in my life, and that was by far one of the hardest ones I've ever done.
Because there's thousands and thousands of species of plants.
It's insane. It was a 450 question test, and when I got done with that, I walked out with a migraine, and my shoulders just tense. I couldn't hardly move because you're asked plant identification, and with that identification, you need to understand the soil, the light, the water needs, and it's just unreal. And they're just showing you a picture, and you have to understand what this plant is.
There's a massive amount of things that we can talk about in real estate.
Well, there really is, and we're about to end this one. But before we end it, I want to tell people you need to hang on. There's a trick that most landscapers don't know, but I do know that Brandon knows it. And
next episode,
the next episode, click on that next episode. If you want to see,
that's a cliffhanger right there.
If you want to see more, some people been comments. We've had some good and bad comments.
Oh yeah, there's a few crazy people out there.
But we thoroughly enjoy doing this.
Yeah, we do. So tune into the next episode. We're going to go over that and a few other things. I mentioned a story that I want to tell you, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into the value from your perspective of the landscaping, making it look nice and new and spruced up. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. Hit those buttons at the bottom. Help us get out there more. Remember, love God, love others, and let your work reflect that. We'll catch you on the next one.